that a lot of sellers don't realize they can sell their home for more than they think. They just hear the market's a horrible time to sell, but you've done it over 150 times last year, figured out how to sell great homes for people when they didn't think they could, and you've also found homes for people, their dream homes, when they didn't realize that they can purchase at that sale price and get into the home. Move up buyers, first-time buyers, even investors, I would imagine, are jumping on this bandwagon because they can cash flow for the first time.
I've never seen an investor marketplace like this, and I'll just give you a quick, more numbers or a story for you. We've all been in this industry over 20 years, and I've never seen, as we did in 2011, where prices were going down, rates were going down, and rents were going up the way they were. That's a perfect storm to an investor. Okay, and so what was happening is I would do numbers, right? $250,000 purchase, $280,000 purchase, $300, even up to $400,000 purchases for investors, not their primary residence. So they pay, as you know, a little bit higher interest rate, but that interest rate was maybe 4 3/8 or something like that, with 20% down. And it would cash flow. And what that means is their total payment might be, let's say, $1,800 for the payment and the taxes and the insurance and everything. And the rent would be $2,180 or $2,250. I mean, this huge number. Now, I don't always pick up on these things right away. I was looking at my own money, and I was saying, wait a minute. That cash that I have there is making 0.5% interest. If I owned a piece of real estate, yeah, it's like the plumber whose pipes leak, right? And so this year I'm committed to buying at least 2 properties that I'll buy and hold because it's
so taking your own advice.
Pretty much, and I'm so busy helping all my clients that I mean, that's the truth. I really wasn't paying close enough attention to my own financial situation, which was, hey, listen, knucklehead, I mean, there's property out there. You know where it is. You can buy it, and the rental market is just red hot and has been for over a year, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon because people still want to live in Santa Clarita. They're just not all in a position to buy yet. So, yeah, the investor is the buyer driving the marketplace. Lots of cash purchases. In fact, 38% of the purchases in 2011 nationwide were cash purchases, which isn't great if you're a good lender like Don, but it just shows how much money is out there to invest in real estate. And it's not talked about a lot, but it's very powerful in the marketplace.
So in just the first half hour of the show, we've talked about the advantages for everyone now. We're talking first-time home buyers buying at the lowest rates have been, lowest houses have been for quite a while. We talk about move-up buyers because maybe that home was $750, now $500 or less, bigger, maybe a better neighborhood, whatever, their dream home, and investors.
Yep.
So, and sellers, because they can actually, because there is 80% of the buyers out there think it's a great time to buy, which doesn't that give the opportunity for sellers to sell at a price that they didn't think they could sell at?
Yeah, the key is, Don, we talked about topics for this show, and there are definitely sellers out there who would be interested in selling, and sometimes they can't sell for as much as they want to. Let's be clear about that. I mean, this is not a seller's market where buyers will just pay whatever. But if they have something that's in short supply and good demand, certain neighborhoods, certain types of floor plans, certain types of amenities, then they will get interest. And the key way for that seller to approach selling is to make sure that their agent understands how to sell that property without an appraisal contingency. It's being done. I'm doing it regularly. It doesn't work for all buyers, obviously, because appraisal contingencies mean that the bank has to say we're willing to loan on that price. And a lot of times the only comparable sales that are available in those neighborhoods are from distress sales. They are from properties that are in poor condition or inferior locations. And that's all that the appraiser has to work with. It's not the appraiser's fault. It's not the homeowner who has a great property's fault. And it's not the buyer's fault. But it's the reality of real estate. And so what happens then, and I did this numerous times last year, especially with more expensive properties, we just simply say to the buyer, we're glad you love the property and we're glad you're willing to pay this price, but there can be no appraisal contingency because it won't appraise. And because there just aren't any comparables. And that's the very, very beginning of getting confidence back in the marketplace, because then the next buyer looks and says, well, this guy was willing to pay $700 when the comps were $500 because it was such a great property. Why shouldn't I be willing to do the same thing? Confidence is a very interesting psychology in any marketplace, and it's certainly true of real estate.
That's a valid point. You're hearing from Neal Weichel with RE/MAX of Valencia, #1 agent in Santa Clarita, sharing with you his expertise. Have you heard that? He's talking about how we're going to get confidence back in this market, which I really love because it has to do with professionals guiding people down that path to take advantage of this market. It's not trying to get another sell. It's not pushing anybody to do something they don't want to do. It's actually helping them realize that this is one of the best markets to either buy your first home, buy your bigger home, your bigger and better home, the home of your dreams, or to invest in a home. And you're given ways that it can happen and why they should do it. Not just do it. Here's examples of why, and here's the numbers that back it up, and here's how we're going to help you. And I love that, Neal. I mean, Steve, you're seeing a lot of these transactions going through.
Absolutely, and as we discussed in our pre-show meeting, it takes some knowledge and creativity to weather the storms of the various roadblocks in a transaction. And you got to be, really. I mean, if you've not been around the business for a while, it'll overshadow you. It'll definitely not turn out the way you want it to be. So it's very important that as consumers, sellers, and buyers, that you are surrounded by the best possible people that you possibly can be, so that the odds increase in your favor to be successful in that transaction. So to that point, Neal, you mentioned in your last conversation about short sales as it affects the value of the particular property. Can you spend a second and tell us about what effects short sales do have on values in our neighborhoods in our Santa Cruz Valley?
Yeah, it's a valid question, Steve, because I think a lot of homeowners, especially a couple of years ago, just thought, well, I'm not a short sale, I'm not a distress sale. Why would that home be used as a comparable for my home? And it was actually in 2008 that some of the big powers that be, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, these are, big influential people in the real estate world.
Those who own most of the mortgages across the country.
Yes, it's not
almost all of them.
I always, when I first started, I just thought they were lenders like everybody else. I didn't know exactly how influential they are. But
some people thought they made cookies.
Yes, well, some people think that they should make cookies.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's a whole other subject. But they came out and said, hey, when a marketplace is dominated by short sales and foreclosures, those are the comps, and all you appraisers who appraise for our loans, you have to use them. So I want to just finish up on this whole concept of what is possible as a seller. I don't walk into somebody's house. I know there's many great agents in this valley. They don't do this either. I don't walk into somebody's house and tell them something that isn't possible. That's a waste of their time. It's a waste of my time.
I agree.
But when something is special and is going to command a premium because we know it will, because we do it again and again and again, we tell them that. When appraisers have to appraise a property, they're going to work with what they have. And if that is a short sale, that is exactly what they're going to use. And they, frankly, are not going to adjust, that's the word they use, adjust for condition the way a buyer would. If a property needs a lot of work and it's arguably worth $50,000 less than the same home across the street that's being sold in much better condition, that appraiser may make an adjustment of $10,000 or $15,000 for condition, where a buyer will clearly pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 more for the exact same property because they don't have to go in and do a ton of work. It's one of the things that we're just going to have to work through as we go from a tough market to much more of a normal market, and we'll get there.
Like you said, it's part of the process of bringing our market back.